Hello, this is Dave, and welcome to Equities Story. I'm with maybe the greatest technical, greatest fundamental analyst in the world.
Oh, that was good. I'm with the greatest technical analyst myself.
Well, you keep telling me you're the greatest technical analyst.
You just give yourself a bit of a pat on the back.
No, you keep telling me you're better than me at technicals now, so I'm starting to believe it. I'm certainly not better than you on fundamentals, so I'll admit that. And Wolfie, anyway, this is just general share advice, not personal advice.
Good.
And let's get going. Wolf, let's start with something different because we've already done this, and I want to maybe start with a different story. Can we start with AMP?
Start from the bottom. Because we had a good start, didn't we? So let's start again with something else.
Well, we started. Okay, let's start talking about the markets. Where the markets, they're not doing well this week. They look like they're rolling over again. Just a tough climate completely. You know, England is an absolute embarrassment. I mean, I'm so proud I'm Australian now, so I don't even have to associate myself with what's going on there. But it's absolutely awful, and really affected one of our hot stocks, AJL, which is 1 minute they're fracking, then they voted fracking 2 days ago. It's going to go ahead, and now Boris might come in, and if Boris comes in, the whole thing is chaos. The whole thing is absolutely chaotic. So all I can say is that really, as far as England's concerned, let us pray. And again, just a really real worry with these inflation in the UK up 10%. You know, how's it going to affect these bond markets? How's it going to affect these pension funds? Is a sign of the UK? Is that a precursor of what's going to be happening in the rest of Europe? Which is, I mean, we've already got inflation up. Just very unsettling times. But you know what? Out of all the countries in the world, I think at the moment, if you're going to invest in, possibly Wolfie, we're in the best place, mate. You know, if we could.
The lucky country for a reason, Dave. It's proving it over and over again.
Well, you always told me it was a lucky country because that's where you live. But yeah, listen, I think to be honest with you, our market has done particularly well compared to a lot of markets around the world, and thanks to the fact that we've got the big dividend stocks, and we've got a lot of resource plays, and
and we don't have many tech plays.
We don't have many tech. You're trying to say we don't have many really interesting companies.
Yeah, exactly. We have the boring old banks and mining. Thank you.
There's an advantage in that eventually, isn't there? Exactly. So let's talk about TLX. So TLX, that price action has been very good this week, and possibly we'll go on with it next week. Possibly a trend there. Like you said, very hard to understand these pharmaceuticals, but good chart, good story. I can understand people trending that.
It's on the up, Dave. I mean, I think just to summarize, it's on the up. Revenues are growing very strongly. That's the reason why the market's probably cheering it at the moment. That's why there probably is a trade there next week.
Now, AMP technically needs to do a little bit more. Fundamentally, does it need to do a little bit more for you?
Yes, it's probably another at least 6 to 12 months, I'd say, Dave, before you can get comfortable. Because remember, they're still going through the changes and just settling on the one business they're gonna keep. But they're still, I found, the funds under management were going out. So yeah, it's not out of the woods. It's not the best thing in the world. I know it's at least we've got some green shirts because at least it's sort of settled down around the dollar mark, but just a little bit too early.
Wolf, IAG, you want to have a look at again, this one technically needs to do a little bit more. We talk about it being a decent space to be in, insurance in difficult markets, but I still wouldn't be trending this one. I still want to see better price action.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I just want to have a quick look through. Actually, can we go through the other three? So let's go through QBE and Sun, just a comparison which ones are the best, because we talked about, you actually emphasized it, that during inflationary period, you usually the insurers do quite well, right? Which I obviously confirmed with you, and which is the best chart, really. What do you think?
QBE is holding up very well, and I think I saw Sun holding up really well as well, Wolf. A little bit down, but a good dividend payer. That might have just been the dividend as well. It goes up and down with the dividend, but I mean, really on a horrible market, they're both holding
Not
up.
bad, are they?
Yeah,
Mm.
you know, they're
So
looking
I
good.
think that's just the proof in the pudding that insurance sector is actually holding up very well.
Yeah, and this IAG, I think if you're going to trade it, just get it over that 490 level, and then I'd be having a look at it.
All right, so maybe next week.
Yeah, could be.
Okay.
Wolf, we'll talk about MP1 again. The announcement really, they just made a mistake in there. All our conspiracy theories, and
I know.
they just made a mistake in their prospectus.
But you've got another conspiracy theory, don't you?
I do, but do I want to go there?
Yeah,
I just wonder if it did leak, and they thought, well, hold on a sec, we've got a problem here. We made a mistake in the prospectus. Let's just put that out, and that will be our way to tell the market, okay, sorry it leaked, but we're not raising.
Yeah. So in other words, just hold off with the raising, right? For another month, maybe, because they probably can.
Yeah.
Wait, hopefully the price bounces, and then maybe they'll raise then, right?
Yeah.
And I like your theory.
But the problem is possibly the cat's out of the bag, and the shorters are in now.
Exactly. So unfortunately, it's a sell, Dave. Funds got it, so there's got to be a sell there. The results were okay. I had a look through the four brokers today. I think two of them were buy, two were neutral. They reduced their price target slightly, but still way above the actual price here. The problem is, of course, there's a bit of nervousness around this story because they have to raise. I think with the cash outflows, but everyone knew about this, right? Nothing's changed. The quarterly didn't really change the actual narrative that they're going to be raising. They're still reiterating they're going to be cash flow positive by FY24. So everything's still there, like they said on the bounce that when we had it in July, August, right? Yet for some reason now, market's scared about that. So
well, I just
isn't it?
Well, the bigger brokers came out with their valuations yesterday, Wolf, and we got Macquarie came out at $10, so above trend. One of the biggest was Citi, which are at 14, which are way above trend. And those two others, we had Credit Suisse at 710 and Audminet at 740, right? Maybe near the trend line.
Yeah.
So generally speaking, I mean, it's most of the brokers are feeling that this is a little bit overdone, oversold. But we know what the market's like. Things can get oversold even a lot more than where they are. So
absolutely. I mean, we've said it just before we went live. The shorters are in the element at the moment. They are in charge of the market. A lot of the species stories, because there's just really no conviction in buying some of these stories, right? People are just generally nervous and probably sitting on the sidelines waiting for a bit more of a more better market. So really, they've got a free rein. They can just do whatever they like. If they want to sell down, put a short in. That's what happens, Dave.
I know there's one or two fund managers that are basically they're just shorting everything. They're fairly confident that they'll
and they probably they probably will make some money out of it. I mean, that's the reality of it. It is painful for the long-term investors like me, but what do? You can't swim against the tide because you're going to get smacked even further.
Wolf, Adair's an interesting, like when you were gone, I spoke with Andrew about the story. Now, he's sort of not so brainwashed into our way of thinking, and he was talking about buying cyclical stories on their lows, right? Now, the question is, and it's very hard to pick a bottom, but when you look at Adair's, and maybe you have to check that your P ratio is the same as mine, but I've got them trading about 7.5 times, and saying now a dividend of 14. Now, I think they paid a special dividend, so that's not quite correct, but certainly maybe around that sort of 10%. The question I've got to ask you, if you were like a long-term investor, would you look at this and say, well, listen, I'm not expecting 10%, but there's a good chance I'm going to get 5%. It's trading. It's a good company. It's trading where, really, if I can squash this little chart up a little bit, it's really trading where it's really been from 2016. It's most probably slightly a little bit oversold. Maybe this is the time I start be looking at the story as fundamentally. Would that be a fair assessment? I know what we do with the Cincinnati, or the way we trade, we just want this trend line to come down to this $2, and maybe if it bounces over there, then we'd get back in. But I just want to say, fundamentally, are these just, there must be a number of really quality stories, Wolfie, like this, where the long-term investor would start looking at, correct?
100%. I mean, look, you can make definitely a positive case about that this is oversold, that this is cyclically low, on fundamentals is cheap. Absolutely, you can tick those boxes, right? I mean, on 7 times, yeah. I mean, normal times probably trades on about 12, right? For a decent business. This is a decent business. That's not Australia-wide. It's a quite a solid business. There's growth there as well. I mean, I saw that they were looking at about 10% growth for revenues. You've got a dividend as well. So, conservatively speaking, 10 times. I mean, they're trading on 7 times at the moment. So you've got at least 30% in this on a cyclical lows. So you can make a case for it. I mean, the other question you've got to ask yourself is it time to buy now? I mean, is it going to go lower? That's probably something maybe you can answer with your charting. But from fundamentals, definitely you can make a case, a good contrarian play, solid business, profitable, all those sort of things. Yeah, I'm okay with it to do so. The only question, like I said, for you is my timing. When do I get into it? Is this fit my profile, right? Out of the portfolio profile? Because like you said, right at the start, there's plenty of these sort of stories around that have been oversold, and we'll mention one in a sec. So yeah, look, you could go to yourself and say, yeah, I'm happy with this.
Well, Wolf, you know what? Their online sales are growing. They've got a very loyal database of mums that just use them, and I put my wife in that category, right? She's a bit of a Adairs fan. The shops are always very nicely presented. It's a very nice business with a nice product, right?
You are fluffing it up a bit. It's just a homewares.
No, it's not. Listen, mate. There's sheets and the sheets, right? Trust me.
Okay. Unless it's got a royal title to it, maybe.
Right. Anyways, those mums out there will know what I'm talking about.
Okay.
You wouldn't.
No.
You know why? It's still sleepy on the floor.
Yeah.
But Wolf, no, it's a good quality. It's
a solid business. It's a solid business. I mean, we've seen it, right? And look, you can also make a case that it's actually come back to pre-COVID levels. So you go to yourself, that's maybe my cue. And funny enough, I saw the presentation that they've made, right? So today they've obviously gone through, and they said since the COVID, I think they said they've doubled their EPS, right? Yet they are back to where they were pre-COVID. I mean, it makes no sense, but there you go. The market's right now obviously pretty harsh on these sort of stories, retail. And that's the other thing is, Dave, the market right now is very short-term focused. It's saying that there's going to be a weakness in economy, which means there's going to be less spending. So the market's saying the actual sales are probably going to drop further for Adairs. Well, that's why I'm not prepared to buy it right now.
And it could come back to that dollar, right? You look on the monthly, and maybe it's near that dollar where you'd be looking to pick up a steal, right?
Yep.
So maybe, yeah.
But you can make a case at these prices. I mean, yeah, a dollar would be like back up the truck, right? But at this price, it still looks pretty attractive.
Yeah, definitely, Wolf. But what we need, that just big shock to the market, don't we?
Yeah.
Right. And when are our CPI numbers coming out again?
I'd have to have a look. I can't remember.
But I mean, things aren't looking that good here. I mean, our economy seems like it's still booming. This whole talk about slowing our economy down was 3 or 4% interest rates. I think not.
It's not working at the moment, is it?
No.
3.5% unemployment rate, David. It hasn't budged at all. And then we've got 3% already now to interest rates.
No.
It's probably double from here.
Double, that's a big call. Double. Okay. Right. AV1, capital raise. We knew they're going to have to do that. They're not quite getting to those numbers, but we still like the story long term.
Story hasn't changed.
Yeah, we just need to see those revenue numbers get to higher levels. AKE, lithium producer, good looking chart. They're down actually, Wolf. But were you reasonably happy with the announcement?
The numbers are okay. Look, the problem is probably expectations, right? The big brokers would have had some modeling and numbers down, how much they're expecting, revenue wise, and all those sort of things. We're just looking at it as an overview type stuff, and overview says, yeah, not bad. The best thing about it for me, you've got growth in production over the next 2 years, and that's my always biggest thing I've always reiterated. If you're going to be buying long term, right, in a company in that resources space, look for companies that are growing its production, because that's going to add a lot of revenues, right, if they can execute properly. And of course, the other part is the commodity going to be a hot commodity for the next 12, 24 months? And I think lithium, you can say, yeah, possibly, right? It's got a very good chance to do so. So, maybe this sort of pullback right here gives you an opportunity to get it closer to the $13, and I'd probably go again.
360. Nice looking chart, Wolf. So I've got to give that chart a 7 out of 10. Why are they? Why are we seeing a bit of a recovery here, where a lot of tech stocks have been absolutely destroyed? They haven't recovered. Why is 360 popped its head back up?
Because I think, generally speaking, it's a good story, first of all, right? It's got a massive database attached to it. They've set out a plan to be cash flow positive and profitable, right? Which is obviously taken positively by the markets, because they need that right now. And today's update, and I think also the M&A space is pretty hot. They're looking at companies that have been completely smashed, and the growth is pretty strong as well. So that's you've got to give them some positive ticks here. Negative, of course, is they are still unprofitable. So that's why they will be languishing around $6. So the question is, today's update, they're coming up with two things that are really important in there. Was a little bit of a delay to some of these revenues they were talking about, which was a negative for me. And I thought I was a little bit nervous that it might be a bit of a shellacking today. But it actually up, which is nice, because the positive of it was that they're going to raise some prices on some of their product pricing, right? So, like you said to me, it was very good point. It can be a positive or negative, right? If they can play it right, if they can see in the market and they can actually raise it by $1 or $2, whatever, it's going to be a big boost to the revenues, right? And possibly margins. So I think the market's probably looking at that and saying, okay, I think they can possibly pull this off.
Yeah, I tell you, if it looks like that by the end of the week, I think it looks like a buy, and that's not a few hours away, isn't it?
Okay.
SDR, Wolf, looks like it's fallen out of a plane or parachuting down slowly. Yes. But again, a parachute, but a good fairly decent announcement.
Dave, I mean, look, I just wanted to reason with everyone here, right? So can you please pull out today's update?
Let me bring it
because
across.
it just points to why the markets are crazy right now. Because really, they've come up with a first quarter FY23 update, right? And they're back to pre-COVID levels. They talked about it. The plan was get back to pre-COVID levels. They are there. If you look at their prospectus numbers and what they said they're going to do, they fulfilled that pretty nicely, right? I think, like I said, from my anecdotal evidence traveling, the planes were completely full. It was very difficult to find a spot to actually stay, even in autumn, right? So there was definitely traveling going around. So for me, this business is still going very, very well. It is loss-making, but they've got a plan, and they're sticking to that plan. They had a plan at the IPO saying they're going to be cash flow positive by the last quarter of FY24. And I know it's far away, but the market right now is so short-term looking, they don't give a shit. They're still loss-making. They're going to probably have to raise cash. Even some of the brokers I saw, they're thinking that this is a short still. Okay, well, so be it. It's really painful to see, but this is a really good business.
Yeah, we just got to wait. I mean, as soon as we get this chart starting to work for us, Wolf, and maybe even break over that short-term trend line, maybe that's when it's.
So this is another one of those cyclical companies that will, to me, inevitably probably will go back, and I reckon it's probably in a crosshairs of private equity, because they listed around what, $7, right? I mean, private equity will go half price to what they listed. This market is crazy.
SMR was sort of trending at the moment. It's up, and we, listen, I think we got like a 290 target price. I mean, if we get it, hit it. I mean, or even if you maybe 280, take a profit, because you see iron ore coming off, Wolf, aren't you, at the moment, and our coking coal could come off as well. But it's good to see it's up. But if you can, don't be too greedy with it. That's
don't be greedy with the coking coal companies, right? I think they are a little bit different than your thermal coal places. So, I'm happy to, obviously, like you said, take that profit around 280, 270, whatever, right? Whatever you've got your price target set at. Because if you look at today's update, it was okay, but it didn't have that, we're swimming in cash because the price of bloody thermal coal is going through the roof.
And I suppose the issue is, we always get a little bit worried when iron ore goes under 100, right? So, it's holding up at the moment, and I think that's what you're looking for, isn't it? A little bit of SMR, that iron ore price, in a way, because it's maybe a good benchmark for sort of steel production.
Yeah, and I think the steel prices there is probably even another good indicator, and that is down 31%. So it just shows you, right? I think much more risk involved with metallurgical coal than thermal coal.
Well said, Wolfie. Now ICT, ever since the breakout, really, it's had a fantastic run, and would you still be holding it?
Look, I think post-COVID now, you can see the numbers are really flying. So I'm just looking at the announcement today. Record quarter. I maybe just put it up because it's just incredible reading, right? They've gone from 0 to hero in a quarter on a PCP period, right? So they've gone from really 4 million in revenues to 27 million in revenues. They've gone operating cash flows from 0.8 to 7.7 million. So you can see a massive jump, because obviously that's, the international student flooding back into studying in colleges for them. It's getting back to that level that they were previously before the pandemic. So it looks pretty good. I suppose if you're looking at some of these educational players, not a bad one.
And how's the IEL, maybe, which is the sort of benchmark in the space?
Yeah, the lead yards to pay. Yep, absolutely.
It's just holding up, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just now, Wolf, lastly but not least, I just want to talk about Worley Parsons. Good looking chart, holding above trend. Technically, it's a hold. If you're in it fundamentally, are you holding it?
You are. It's a long-term story for me. Remember that it is going to go up and down with the market. It's going to go up and down with the oil and gas prices, but it is got the two hands in one in the old traditional fossil fuels, right? But they also got two hands in the renewables as well. So they are transitioning, just like globally there's a transition over from fossil fuels to renewables, and I think they've got a good future as long as they can play the cards right. So for me, I'm liking the business. I don't think it's too demanding, and it's probably one of the better businesses around, and it's actually globally quite well positioned.
Brilliant, Wolf. Listen, on that note, we're going to end it there. No real sort of buys today, but certainly some holds, certainly some stocks maybe to have a look at, which are on Einstein. So what we always try and do on our daily videos is to give you something to look at, something that hopefully where you can make some money, or maybe a story to get on your watch list, or something to hold, but no sort of official trends coming out there in writing. But I think generally speaking, not looking too bad. I think good to see SXE, which is the hot stock this week. I think it's moving up, and I think, Wolf, it's
very nice. Very nice.
I think it'll move up nice over the next few days. So I don't think it's looking too bad this week's hot stock. On that note, thank you very much for listening to Equity Story, and have a wonderful day.
Thanks, guys. See you in about an hour or so.
Thanks, Wolf. See you at 12 o'clock. Yeah, thanks, mate.
Yeah.
Bye. Bye.